Attention Minnesota Vikings fans, the news we have today will drive you crazy. Vikings fans are flooding our social networks trying to understand what just happened, and here in this video, you will know everything firsthand, so don't leave. Don't forget to leave your like on the video too, because it helps our community to grow more. And if you are not subscribed yet, subscribe, because here we always do giveaways with subscribers. Now let's go to today's news. Vikings test cornerback praised by Travis Hunter, and step-up search for undrafted talent. Amid criticism of the limited 2025 draft class, the Minnesota Vikings appear to have adopted a clear strategy, finding hidden gems among the undrafted players. And one of the most intriguing names in this search goes to Tommy Hill, a cornerback who caught the attention of the NFL for an unusual reason. He was publicly praised by Travis Hunter, one of the biggest college stars of the moment. Hill, a former Nebraska Cornhuskers, was invited to participate in the Vikings rookie minicamp. The announcement came via the Nebraska football program's official Instagram account, confirming that the defender will have a golden opportunity to prove his worth to the Minnesota coaching staff. Despite going unnoticed by all 32 teams during the draft, Hill had an unexpected moment in the spotlight when Travis Hunter, the number 2 overall pick in the last draft and Heisman Trophy winner, cited him at the Combine as one of the toughest opponents he faced in 2024. The toughest corner is probably Nebraska or Oklahoma State, Hunter said, referring directly to Hill. The praise took on extra weight when revisiting the Nebraska-Colorado matchup on September 7 of last year. While Hunter had an impressive performance with 10 receptions and 110 yards, Hill shone on defense, totaling 6 tackles and returning an interception for a touchdown. A performance that demonstrated his impact in big games, elite athleticism, and solid production. Who is Tommy Hill? At 6'2" and 215 pounds, Hill combines physicality with impressive athletic attributes. He began his college career at Arizona State before transferring to Nebraska, where he played 3 seasons. In his final 2 years, he racked up 10 pass breakups and 5 interceptions in 19 games. However, a foot injury, persistent plantar fasciitis, limited him to just 7 games in his senior season, which directly affected his visibility in the pre-draft process. Despite his physical limitations, Hill's performance at the NFL Combine drew attention. NFL.com analyst Lance Zierlein gave the cornerback a 94 athleticism grade, the highest among all defenders in the class. However, his low productivity grade and difficulty in short transitions placed him lower in the overall rankings. Zierlein described Hill as a cornerback with good range and reads in zone coverage, although he struggles in man-to-man coverage. Still, he highlighted his commitment to supporting the run game and suggested that the player could develop into a solid backup with potential to rise to the next level with more time and experience. Reshaping secondary creates room for opportunities, the Vikings' current situation makes the scenario even more promising for Hill. The franchise lost most of its defensive starters in free agency and only kept veteran safety Harrison Smith and cornerback Byron Murphy Jr. as big names in the secondary. The space is open for new talent, and Hill, with his history of production, has a real chance of earning a spot on the roster. In addition to Hill, the Vikings invested heavily in undrafted prospects this offseason. They signed BYU edge rusher Tyler Batty, ranked as the best player at the position among UDFAs, and University of Minnesota quarterback Max Brosmer, ranked as the second best at the position in this group. They also brought in running back Trey Stewart from Jacksonville State, ranked 14th among UDFAs at his position. Minnesota's strategy is clear. In a draft class limited by picks, the franchise is betting on the raw potential of undrafted players to shape its future. And Tommy Hill, with his rare blend of athleticism, experience, and recognition from Travis Hunter himself, is one of the most intriguing names in this group. If he can capitalize on his chance at this minicamp, Hill could not only secure a roster spot, but also become another example of how talent can emerge away from the draft spotlight. Jiren Hall released by the Seahawks, and the Vikings have the chance to bring back an old acquaintance. Amid the constant movement of quarterbacks in the NFL, a familiar name has returned to the market: Jiren Hall. The young quarterback, selected by the Vikings in the 2023 draft, was released by the Seattle Seahawks this week. And now Minnesota has the opportunity to reopen the door to an old acquaintance if they still see value in his development. The information came directly from insider Adam Schefter, who confirmed that the Seahawks released 4 players: Hall, linebacker Michael Dowell, center Michael Nowitzki, and edge Kenneth Odumegwu. The news reignites a debate that seemed to be over. Does Jiren Hall still have a place in the Vikings? Plans, from promising reserve to disposable piece. Hall's turbulent trajectory. Hall was a bold 5th-round pick by Minnesota in the 2023 draft. Coming out of BYU, he was seen as a potential long-term backup, perhaps even a successor to Kirk Cousins. In his rookie year, the plan was simple: develop behind Cousins and the experienced Nick Mullins. But football rarely follows predictable scripts. With Cousins suffering a serious Achilles injury and Mullins also out with a back problem, Hall was unexpectedly thrown to the Wolves in a game against the Falcons. His participation lasted only a few plays before a concussion took him off the field. The rest of the season was marked by instability at quarterback, with Josh Dobbs briefly taking over and Hall getting another chance in a disastrous game against the Packers that sealed his fate. The following offseason, with the arrival of Sam Darnold, first-round pick J.J. McCarthy, and Mullins remaining, Hall lost practice time and was eventually released. He then signed with the Seahawks practice squad, where he once again saw the door close with the arrival of names like Drew Lock and rookie Jalen Milroe. Now, at 27 years old, Hall is once again adrift, with only 20 passes thrown in official games, 13 completed for 168 yards, no scores and 1 interception, and 14 more rushing yards under his belt. Is there still room in Minnesota for Jiren Hall? Although Hall made a good impression as a professional and as a teammate, the scenario in Minnesota has changed drastically. J.J. McCarthy was chosen to be the quarterback of the future and is already being considered QB1. The team also signed Sam Howell, who arrives with more experience, kept Brett Rypien as a reliable option at the bottom of the rotation, and also signed the promising Max Brosmer, one of the most valued UDFAs of the year. In other words, the Vikings' quarterback room is crowded and competitive. Still, it's worth remembering that after his departure last year, both general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and head coach Kevin O'Connell expressed interest in re-signing him to the practice squad, but Hall opted to go another route. Now the decision is on the table again. End of the road or new beginning? Jiren Hall's future in the NFL is uncertain. Minnesota's door may be ajar, but with so many younger or more promising options, it could also be about to close for good. With few real opportunities and time ticking, Hall may need to seek new horizons with other franchises that are still shaping their quarterback rooms. Whatever the next chapter, one thing is certain: Hall is still fighting to prove he still has something to offer in the NFL. It remains to be seen whether the Vikings still believe that.